Carrera. We should really meet more often.
We probably should, because it's been too long, Judge.
E11-453-6527C.
Parties
So
can't see
where are
this.
we at?
Well, Judge, we're basically nowhere. As you know, Dr. Chambers said that he didn't have the time available. We had made a proposal of Dr. Reutman. He used to be on the court-approved list. I think you said, I think your JEA or your law clerk said, we don't know of Reutman. I've had him in cases before, and he's very qualified, but obviously he's not on the court-approved list. Got a suggestion from counsel about someone who's not on the court-approved list, which obviously is not acceptable to us. We're now at, I want to give the court 3 names. I gave them to counsel before court, and I'd like you to approve all 3, and we'll put them in order by who we would like as far as priority. And if, in this instance, Shara Bradley would be first choice. If she's not available, it would go to Bree Mullen, and if Bree Mullen's not available, it would go to Michelle Gravely. All on the court-approved list.
Which one do you want?
My client really doesn't have a preference other than if she's covering it, that they take her insurance. But I believe that the court ordered last time we were
Court order
here.
was dividing it equally, and this type of procedure would never, ever, ever be covered by insurance. So she needs to understand that.
So there's no preference unless Michelle, I think is that the last
Michelle
one?
Gravely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, but we need the other 2 as backups. If you want to say Michelle Gravely is the choice, but Shara Bradley and Bree Mullen are both approved because they're on the court-approved list, and if somehow Michelle Gravely has a conflict,
They picked that one, so you get to pick one for the backup.
okay, then Shara Bradley would be our backup.
Okay.
And that's only in case the first one
That's fine.
writes a letter to both sides and says, I'm not gonna do it, or I don't have time to do it, right?
As far as other issues, Judge, the court order was for supervised visits to occur at Desert Sanctuary in California. My client almost immediately sent an email through Family Wizard to the plaintiff. So he's saying, hey, listen, you need to call them and do the same intake that you've done at Donna's house before. She never has. But he hasn't had any supervised visits at all since October 29th when we were in court, because she never completed what she needed to complete. Now, I don't need to argue to you that a primary parent actually has to try harder to foster and nurture the relationship, because I have a court order that says this is where it has to be. I have my client advising her, hey, listen, you need to do this intake process in order for us to be able to comply with the court order. And the response to the Family Wizard post about this issue, crickets chirping, no response. In fact, I filed yesterday the emails on Family Wizard from my client to the plaintiff, most of which either have cryptic, non-responsive responses, or most of them, even greater percentage, have no response whatsoever. Hey, I didn't get my Skype. You ordered a specific Skype FaceTime schedule. You ordered her to place the FaceTime call to Dad. Post. Hey, I didn't get my FaceTime as court ordered here today. No response. Also no FaceTime. Now, we've subpoenaed my client's phone records for a cell phone so that we'll be able to prove at the time of the eventual evidentiary hearing that everything he's saying about her unwillingness to communicate is 100% accurate. I think you have the history and the flavor of this case to know that she has thwarted every possible opportunity.
Flavor is not the right word.
The distaste, how's that?
Or smell.
Well, and it's more the same. I mean, we were in court, and I thought she would have gotten a wake-up call that,
This is the he missed.
well,
The Desert Sanctuary.
everyone. He didn't have any of
How
them.
many is that?
Well, I think the order was that there be 2 there, and then
mine?
after that, he would provide his own supervisor.
So 2?
But it was also anticipated that we would have
That
the
was in
therapy
October?
process in place.
That was in October?
That was October 29th is when we were in court, Judge.
Okay.
And so, hopefully, from today forward, we have our therapist in place, because obviously, you recall, my client's big concern was that at least the therapist meet with the child and recognize and be able to assess that no, he hasn't been abused by his father before he would have unsupervised contact. Now, if that happens right away, then we can go to unsupervised right away. Since it might take a week or two, we still want her to contact Desert Sanctuary, do whatever their intake is, so that your order can actually be complied with. It couldn't be complied with absent her cooperation with Desert Sanctuary. And I thought she understood all of her obligations when we left court on October 29th. But even if she didn't, my clients,
Okay, we start the visits and we have a therapy involved and what is the therapist supposed to be looking
the
for?
primary concern for my client is that the child be assessed about concepts of being programmed by mom to then falsely report that dad has abused the child. So, because you know the history is that she's made these false accusations before, they've been proven false.
So the therapist does that and says,
I've talked to the child seems very clear that dad has not abused him, boom, we're good to go, and we're on regular contact, which I'm going to suggest would be at least every other weekend, with dad having the right to choose 3-day weekends in any month, and then obviously pending the eventual trial that never happened with all of the evidence that existed prior to the, I'm going to call it an aborted settlement because it never came to fruition, from 2 years ago.
okay. Well, I understand everything except the last point about having a hearing again. I don't know about.
Well, we never had a hearing.
Because they reached an agreement.
They actually didn't reach an agreement, though. It was never reduced to writing. There was never a meeting of the minds because the exchange of correspondence between the prior counsel proved that there was no agreement. So, you know, I'm sure if there was an agreement, my client would have been happy to abide by what was actually in the agreement, but what was provided by mom's prior counsel was about 180 degrees from what was actually agreed to. And the problem was it wasn't ever put on the record. So we actually don't have a video we can go to. So there was never an agreement. And that's why our initial motion was to go ahead and reset it for the evidentiary hearing, because all of the evidence that dad has accumulated since the last custodial order is still relevant under McMonigle, because there was never a subsequent custodial order. And we believe that you will determine, I mean, her behavior since the last hearing is just further proof that mom's incapable of supporting the relationship, and therefore she doesn't qualify to be a primary custodial parent. And that's why the initial motion to change custody was filed, because of these repeated false allegations. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's probably the most exact example of alienation, is trying to destroy the relationship by making this child say or believe things which then don't pan out when actual investigation takes place. An evidentiary hearing is all about that investigation. So I think Your Honor's intention was for there to have been therapy, for dad to have had contact, and for us to come back and say whether or not there's a chance of resolving this or whether we still want our evidentiary hearing.
I have to review the tapes because I remember there being kind of an agreement or understanding or order at regarding mom having custody, dad having visitation. As soon as we started that, and we started with baby steps, very little baby steps, a little bit bigger baby steps, and then all of a sudden the child was being sexually abused after the first non-baby step. Then she comes back and saying, I was only trying to protect my child, and I guess I was wrong, I'm sorry. And then dad accepted that, and we moved on to more visitation, and then you came along. So I thought the case was kind of, had been agreed, and she's been warned and warned and warned, and that no one's taking the child away from her except herself by her actions. So let me talk to you about, has she,
Your Honor, if I may respond.
May of 15 was the
One-sided.
last time he saw his son.
well, yeah, but he came back last time and says that I don't want to see my child till we do all this stuff.
I understand, because he was worried about.
It's like, I'm still kind of shocked because I've never had one case as an attorney or as a judge where someone comes and says, I don't want to see the child until.
Well, no. What he
In
said
jail.
was, I'm concerned that if I
I know
take
what
my
he said,
visitation,
but
I'm
I'm just
gonna
saying,
end up in jail.
I've never had a case like that saying, I'm afraid I might go to jail because mom keeps making accusations, so I wanna have these things done. I understand it, but I'm just saying it's kind of unusual. I've never seen it before. But are you done? Let me, okay, what happened to Family Wizard? He's written a lot of notes and your client doesn't reply.
That's not true. That would ultimately come out, Your Honor, in evidentiary hearing. Here's what I do have. This idea that he sent an email right after the hearing saying, by the way, I've been to Desert Sanctuary or I've contacted him. Here's the forms. Here's what happened. It wasn't that he contacted her directly and said, oh, by the way, you need to contact Desert Sanctuary. What he told her, and this email, Your Honor, and I'm happy to present it, wasn't sent until January 6th, first off. And then second off, he says, look, you have to have your interview with Desert Sanctuary. He said, I had my attorney send you the intake form and the information 5 days after the last court date on October 29th. Okay? Again, if my client is the one to blame, then why did he wait past November, past December, and then not even until January to advise her that he had asked his attorney to send her the paperwork to set this up? Where's the email that says, hey, by the way, I sent you this 5 days ago, assuming we're in November, and I haven't got this. So anyway, it's just odd.
We came in October, we agreed we're gonna do Desert Sanctuary. Now, you're saying she didn't know about it, or?
No, not, I haven't said that. Hold on, I did not interrupt you. I did not say that. What I said was, he's claiming that he sent her the forms and the intake stuff, saying, here's what you need to do to contact Desert Sanctuary.
Okay.
She never got those forms.
Okay, stop right there. What did she do after not getting the forms?
After not getting
the form, saying you have the forms, and she didn't get them, what did she do?
She does nothing. She never heard back from him.
When someone says, you have my money, and I don't have your money, I would write back and say, I don't have your money.
But he didn't do this, Your Honor, until January. So
what did she do when she got that in January?
I don't believe that he even set up Desert Sanctuary. That's my point. He's claiming he went to Desert Sanctuary.
You see my point?
I do, Your Honor.
We ordered something in October, and here we are in February.
Okay,
Nothing's been done
if she contacts
by her, and you're saying nothing's been done by him, but he says he's done something.
but he hasn't provided
He went to
evidence.
Desert Sanctuary, signed it up, and he sent her that email, which she didn't do anything about.
Not until January, Your Honor.
Okay.
And he didn't send her
So
any.
okay.
There's no proof that he even set up.
How do we waste more time?
I agree.
How do we waste more time? What do we do?
Well-
What do we do next that I order and nothing gets done?
Here's what I will tell my client is contact Desert Sanctuary, do your part.
You didn't
Hold
tell
on,
her.
hold on.
You didn't tell her that last time. You didn't tell her that. Tell me, you didn't tell her that last time.
She needed to contact Desert Sanctuary.
I thought
Yes.
we all left the building knowing that.
Here, Your Honor, she can contact Desert Sanctuary, but if he doesn't do his part, which he hasn't, then it doesn't matter.
Wait,
but
wait.
yeah, that's.
Are you sure he hasn't?
I can prove,
I'm not-
I've
I'm
got
not
his
positive.
forms right
Okay.
here, Judge.
But we haven't gotten anything. Here's the irony of it is supposedly he's contacted Desert Sanctuary, got this all set up, and he's just waiting for mom. Okay? No. November rolls around, right? He still hasn't had his visitation. Supposedly he's all set it up, but he still hasn't contacted her to say, hey, why haven't you contacted Desert Sanctuary? I'm waiting to go and visit him. Nothing. December, same thing. If he has set it up and it's good to go, where's the email saying, okay, look, I've set this up. You still haven't gone by or you still haven't called Desert Sanctuary. Now, granted, that doesn't excuse her from calling them first and saying, it's all set up, good to go. But
Thank you.
But the bottom line is,
Thank you for saying that.
bottom line is, he still has to contact him. It's his insurance that it was going through, and then
No insurance for Desert
ultimately,
Sanctuary.
Your Honor, this was sent out not until January 6th, complaining he had set it up and didn't get his visit. Why does he wait 2 months if he has set this up and he's good to go? That doesn't make sense.
How long you been on this case?
Last hearing was unbundled, and we came in to get Dr. Chambers. We had Dr. Chambers, and then again.
I thought you'd been on this case for a while.
No, he was new to the
No,
case
Your
as
Honor.
well, Judge.
I was just
Let
on.
me tell you, we come to this. We come, I order visits, no visits. We come, I order visits, we start a visit, child's being abused. We go past the abuse, she says, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cooperate now, no visits.
Your Honor, okay.
We come here, we order desert sanctuary, no desert
And
sanctuary.
if I may address, Your Honor, okay. We've made our argument for
How
with this.
deep does she wanna dig this hole?
Your Honor, here's what I would say. It's already apparent. This court, what I'm saying is, he fights for these visits, but then he doesn't utilize them. He fights for desert sanctuary, but it's not utilized. And here's the proof. Your Honor, you gave him the opportunity on October 29th to visit his son. And then he has this excuse of, well, I don't want these allegations. Okay, go to a public place to see your child. Take someone else with you, but he denies the visitation. But then he'll come into court and say, I didn't get my
I
visitation.
understand what you're saying, I don't understand the psychology behind that either, or what the purpose of that is. You wanna put some motive behind that? Cause I don't understand it either.
Again, all my point is that visitation has been ordered, and then it's not exercised or utilized by dad. So
What
the
about
point-
Skype?
Again, he's had
Again?
he's had his visits. That's what's frustrating is he has had visits, and then he will email my client and say, I didn't get my visits.
Or Skype?
Or Skype. FaceTime. It's FaceTime.
So he had them, but he's pretending he didn't have them?
He's saying that he didn't. So again, we're gonna have to delve into, all right, let's pull his phone records and we're gonna match it up with,
I already sent the subpoena, Judge.
so anyway,
Well, this is kinda strange, I never had anything like that, like someone's getting visits
Well,
and.
here's my favorite part. If that's true, when he sends on January 6th, Claudia, once again, I did not have my FaceTime session with our son. Please have Tarzo FaceTime me at the earliest possible. Thank you.
She would've said,
Why isn't there an immediate response
Yeah,
saying,
why isn't
here's
there?
here's a screenshot of my attempt to contact you. Here's a video
And that's what
of
I've
me
ex-
trying
It goes
to
back to
contact
me
you."
when if someone says to you, you robbed the bank and I have proof, what would you say?
Your Honor, I would
Right
say I did-
away, you would say, you're crazy.
and I've talked to my client and said, look, here's what you're dealing with is she doesn't expect this. He's had his FaceTime. She doesn't expect him to come into court and say, I didn't get my FaceTime on that day.
We have
It's ludicrous.
3
So,
years of this case. She should expect it, and she should reply right away. If someone accuses her of not giving me visits, and this whole case is about her not giving him visits, she should be on the reply within a minute after she gets that email and says, I gave you, what are you talking about?
yes. And I've explained that to her that you're going to have to cover your butt with that type of email that, what are you talking about? You had it. But she doesn't expect it. He's got his visit, and then we're in court, and this is the first time, or he sends this email January 6th. He doesn't,
Now we spent
so yes.
October, November, December, and January, 4 months, another 4 months wasted.
Your Honor, I would also point out, again, Dad, the last time we were here, said, I went to Barstow and I was there waiting, and she didn't show up. We were supposed to get proof of receipts. We never got those because why? He wasn't there. But he claims he was there.
That's all for an
That's,
evidentiary
again,
hearing, Judge.
that, Your Honor, just, again, points to the defendant. He's fighting for these visits, but then he's not following through. But then he wants to pin it on Mom.
That's a
as,
flat lie.
Sir.
Again, let's see the receipts. He's had 3 months to
Well,
provide.
we'll see him at the hearing. We're gonna have a hearing.
But we're supposed to get those receipts so we can determine whether or not he was actually there. But we didn't get those. He should be ordered still to provide those.
And he was, and you'll get them.
He doesn't.
We've been trying to deal with more important issues like him trying to get to see his son.
Okay, so now we discussed the spilled milk for 4 months. Now what do? So you're gonna go to Desert Sanctuary, you're gonna tell your client now to go to Desert Sanctuary and sign up now?
Well, yeah, because she didn't get the forms from her. So yeah, obviously she's gonna go set it up, and he can set it up. I don't know that he actually set it up, but maybe he did. We didn't get any proof. My client didn't get any proof that he'd actually contacted him. So yeah,
So-
I'll make the phone call to Desert.
She was supposed to call
I'll
when we
make the
left
phone call to
court.
Desert Sanctuary to even see if he called him.
Okay,
Absolutely,
Frankly, I'd be
please.
surprised if he called him back in October, just because of the history. What
So
I've seen.
both sides within the next 10 days better have this set up with Desert Sanctuary,
He's already set up, Judge.
okay?
The only reason it hasn't happened is she never called.
I don't know what part of that she didn't understand last time.
Her
I
understanding
mean,
was,
that's all we talked about last time.
her understanding was he's gonna contact Desert Sanctuary, he's gonna set it up, and then they will be notifying her with, again, the appointment.
Okay.
Let's
never
go back
did-
to the video
hold
of the
on.
hearing.
He's
She
never
knew-
done
she
that.
knew- She knew that in October.
And in November, he didn't contact her and say, hey, I've
So,
contacted,
and she did nothing October, November, December, January.
and he didn't do anything either.
So
He
she
didn't,
thought, he doesn't care, right?
right. Because that's what's happened before. He hasn't showed up for visits. He hasn't.
So we're gonna
followed
do
through on
Desert
FaceTime.
Sanctuary within the next 10 days. We're gonna do the therapy. We already picked the therapy. That's gonna start as soon as possible. We pick one name, we'll start with one name. If we don't, then we'll go on to the second name. The Skype is back on. Now, how are we gonna do Skype when someone does Skype and someone denies having Skype? How do we resolve that?
Well, it's FaceTime, so it's through their phone or through his phone.
So we'll have the
So
evidence.
there should be yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Honor, my client's actually gonna be out of town, next week, so, while certainly within the next week, she needs to get registered and do the orientation that he's already done, but for the purposes of the next visitation, it'll be when he gets back, in town
After February 7th.
after February 7th, which the next weekend after that is gonna be Valentine's weekend.
So we have Desert Sanctuary visits, what days do we have? We better get that very.
I'm gonna say Saturday, the 13th is the
And we-
best
we're
day
do-
for his first visit. She's gotta get everything accomplished by then, set the appointment.
And is it
he-
every other weekend?
Yes.
Yes,
So,
and in fact, your prior order was that it be at the Desert Sanctuary for the first and second visits, and then after that, he can have a supervisor, he can not have a supervisor. Hopefully, the initial meeting with Michelle Gravely will have occurred by then, and assuming he's comfortable not having supervision, he'll have no supervision. Because remember, it's not the court ordering him supervision, it's him saying, hey, I want to make sure there's a witness there to make sure that I'm not going to end up behind bars. So from the standpoint of what happens after the first two visits at Desert Sanctuary, it should be, sure, they can exchange at Desert Sanctuary, but then he'll have the weekend on an every other weekend basis
Now,
with the
is
right
the-
to
It was the first and third, Your Honor, it wasn't every other weekend, so.
so
There-
are the visits at the Desert Sanctuary just that one day?
Yeah, I believe it was,
So
Here.
is the visit at the sanctuary one day, Counselor?
Yeah, it would be, I think, a block of 4 hours.
The maximum amount of time, I think is 4 hours.
it was 4 hours. Here.
So, the parties are ordered to have visitation at the Desert Sanctuary February 13th and February 27th for up to 4 hours. Between now and that time, everybody better be signed up at the Desert Sanctuary. And I want the records from Desert Sanctuary subpoenaed from October.
And Your Honor, can we have an actual order? It might be part of your original order, putting Family Wizard in place, but a response to a Family Wizard email within, you pick the number of hours.
You put it in the order, I mean, that's,
24 hours,
It's in there.
12 hours?
it was 24 hours.
Okay. Because then there's none of this nonsense that, oh, I didn't see that email saying I didn't give you FaceTime.
You can also put in the order that if there's no response within 24 hours, the party may be subject to contempt, $500 or 5 days in jail.
Yeah, part of the order, Your Honor, was that, again, FaceTime was Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 o'clock. So if we can include in there that there's a 15-minute window, because the other problem is that he's calling 7:30,
What time is it?
8 o'clock. It's
What,
per
Tuesday
the-
and Thursdays at what
Hey,
time?
at 7 p.m., but he's not calling at that
No,
time.
if-
So
Can I read the
7:30.
rest of the order, Judge?
if I may
Mom shall
finish-
initiate the FaceTime. It's not his burden, it's her burden. This is your court order from October 29th, 28th.
So she
So
called.
either way, she calls and he doesn't answer. How often does she have to keep calling?
She has to call at 7 o'clock, she has 15 minutes to call, and he has to answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or call back, because I believe he's at work.
Or call back within 15 minutes. I think children in kindergarten get more directions, more difficult directions, and they are able to understand them and follow those directions than you two have done in this courtroom.
Vincent.
They're not that complicated. So do you understand what's gonna happen after the second visit in February, on February 27, what the visits are gonna be?
Yeah, per the last order, the visitations, dad's third and fourth visits with minor child on Barstow shall be unsupervised or with a private supervisor, if that's what he prefers.
Why don't you read the part about desert sanctuary? Is that in that order?
Just dad shall have supervised visits with the minor child at Desert Sanctuary in Barstow for a period of 4 hours. For the first and second visits with the minor child in Barstow, there shall be a 30-minute window for child exchange. Dad shall provide the name of the supervisor before the first child exchange occurs. That he didn't do. Dad shall pay the cost for the supervisor.
Judge,
That's
after the visit at Desert Sanctuary on the 27th, the weekends should just be, the custody exchange is on Friday, and he has until Sunday evening. And by then, because by then, the child will have seen Michelle Gravely and he'll be in a comfort position. I don't want to have to come back to court in a month and say he just wants his regular weekend visitation. And oh, by the way, we still are asking for an evidentiary hearing date because this has gone on long enough.
so again, the dad shall provide the name of the supervisor before that first exchange. So if he's got that name, I'd love to get it right now if he's set it up.
They're talking about supervisor after the second visit, and you're talking about no.
No supervisor.
Well, no. This is my understanding is that he can have a private supervisor after the third and fourth visits, but this was he has 2 visits that are going to be supervised, but per your order, he was supposed to provide the name of the supervisor before the first child exchange. So he was going to contact Desert Oasis or Desert Sanctuary, get a name of whoever was going to supervise the visits,
No,
and
the name
provide
of the
that.
supervisor was for the later visits where he was just going to provide a supervisor.
Except that
At
it
this
did-
point, he hasn't had any contact, Judge. When we came into court last time,
Except that
you
it's
were
with
willing
this
to give him
paragraph.
unsupervised contact, period, and just enforce the prior
Here-
order. So we just want to.
Wait, you're both right, but here's the situation. He's the one that requested the supervised visitation.
Right.
So he doesn't want to have a supervised, so,
After the second visit.
I'm not
at
saying
Desert
after the
Sanctuary.
second or third. I'm just simply
No, the
pointing
second.
out he needed to provide the name of the supervisor before the first exchange.
No.
So if he's set up this desert sanctuary, please provide me with the name of
Stop.
that supervisor.
There is no
That's-
name that they give you at Desert Sanctuary. It's whoever's working that day to
That's
do
what
the
the order
supervision,
says.
No,
just like
no.
Donna's house. No, it's
Just
the
like Donna's.
private supervisor for the third and fourth.
That's
is
in the
what
second
order says.
paragraph. That's in the second paragraph.
Here-
If you look at it, you don't
okay.
have a copy of the order.
this is what's gonna happen. 2 visits at Desert Sanctuary. The 13th of February, the 27th of February, up to 4 hours, depending how long they'll permit it at the Desert Sanctuary. After that, we're gonna go to the regular schedule. You haven't requested anything else than that, and they requested this, now that we're drawing their request for supervised visits.
And Judge, as far as getting the child to Michelle Gravely as soon as possible, given the fact that we left here believing that she would contact Desert Sanctuary and she didn't, can you order her specifically, we've got a referral order, can you order her specifically to contact Michelle Gravely's office tomorrow?
Do you both understand you're gonna call the therapist?
He's gonna
problem
call
with that.
today.
What's that?
I said we don't have a problem with contacting Michelle Gravely right away. I would like.
Listen, I've been through this rodeo before. I don't want her to say, I changed my mind, I thought he wanted me to go to a therapist, and I'm going to a therapist, but this is the therapist I'm going to. I'm not going to that one.
No,
She's not gonna play that game again, is she?
I understand.
Okay, so within a week from today, she needs to have contact with the therapist and have an appointment set up. And it's the therapist's name is on the order.
Yeah, Michelle Gravely. And Your Honor, can we get the copy of the receipts for the time that he was in Barstow and put that in there that within the next 5 days, we can have them? According to counsel, he has those, so.
Yeah.
In the order,
that should be
put
fine.
it in the order.
Okay.
And I also want in the order what he's done with Desert Sanctuary since October.
Yeah.
Since you
Well,
say
we'll
he didn't
send,
do anything.
We will provide all of that, Judge. You can give me names of people you talked to and all that
Who's
stuff.
making up stories and just the judge?
you're welcome to.
So, what are we calling what Michelle Gravely is doing?
I think we originally said it was a interview and assessment.
The prior referral was the child therapy, but it was also, my understanding,
So it's a child interview
of abuse or.
to determine abuse. Is that what we're doing?
Well,
Correct, and then comfort level with the father visits.
there's no comfort level
No,
with
I'm
the
just,
father.
I didn't say that that's what it said in the order. If you let me finish, I'm suggesting that that be what is in this particular order for Miss Gravely. Because the prior order was just child therapy.
Well, if they said that, it was incorrect, because there's really no therapy. We're just trying, I think we're trying to determine whether the child is saying dad's abusing him.
Well, and issues pertaining to false memory syndrome and the planting of concepts by mom and alienation and things like that. But I think all of that will kind of come out because Michelle Gravely's qualified.
So, in the next 10 days, if there's any issue,
I'll be calling for a
I
telephone.
want a telephone conference.
I do too, Judge.
And by the end of February, we're gonna have another telephone conference, if we need to.
Okay.
If we have to monitor this day to day, hour to hour, I'll do this. And I don't want someone coming, 4 months later and saying nothing's happened. Cause I'm having the telephone calls open whenever we need it to follow through, in case somebody misunderstands the order.
Are we scheduling a telephone conference?
No, we're not scheduling. You, if there's something that goes wrong the next week,
I'll be in
on the phone, contact me, we'll, call my chambers, set up a phone conference, we'll call the other side, we'll have everybody on the phone, and we'll do a telephone conference. If the first visit goes bad, get on the phone. Whatever goes bad, get on the phone. I don't wanna come back 3 months from now and nothing's been done. Things are gonna get done. And if you don't do anything and there's a problem, it's on you. Okay, if you don't do anything and there's a problem, it's gonna be on you. Cause my phone call, you know my number, call, we'll have a telephone conference between the attorneys.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll prepare this order.
2 weeks and 1 week to review.
Okay, yes, thank you.